Raise your hand if you're waiting for an answer from God this morning. Sorry, I have to show off the ring. Even if you aren't waiting this morning, I'm sure you have in the past. And whether it's a job or a relationship or a partner or a friend or something completely different, waiting feels like a bit of a rite of passage for most Christians. Like God is trying to haze us into the faith or something like that. And while that's probably a little bit of a stretch, patience is definitely something that God calls us to focus on. Galatians 5:22 outlines the fruit of the Spirit. And that's love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And patience, at least for me, and I'm sure a lot of you guys can agree, is one of the hardest fruits to develop because you can really only develop it through practice and experience. Right. So while waiting may be a challenging and uncomfortable place to be, the Bible gives us a few tips on how we can deal with these seasons when they come around. First thing the Bible says is be humble. 1 Peter 5:6 says, "Humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time." Yeah. Humility makes sure that our plans don't get in the way of God's. And in every decision that you make, think, am I doing this because I want to, or I think I should, or because I truly believe God is calling me to do so? My biggest piece of advice when it comes to fostering humility, if that's something you struggle with, I know it is something that hits me every once in a while, is to find a humility partner or group. That can be a friend, maybe your wife. That's mine for sure. And it's actually funny, at my bachelor party a few weeks ago, my friends asked me, what's the one thing about Julianne that above all else is why you love her? Like, what's the one thing that you learned about her, that you noticed about her, that just you were like, yeah, she's the one. And without hesitation, I said, she humbles me. And it's true. She's so brutally honest with me sometimes when I try to let my own plans take over God's plans for my life, that she really just straight up tells me, Thomas, come on. That's not what you're supposed to be doing. and that compass really has been invaluable to me as I've worked through a bunch of different waiting seasons together. The second thing the Bible tells us to do is to be still. Psalm 37:7 says, "Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Do not fret when people succeed in their ways, when they carry out their wicked schemes." This is one I struggle with a lot because I'm a solver. If there's a problem, all I'm thinking about is who and what and where and why and how I'm going to solve that problem. But God calls us into a much more dependent mode of problem solving, one that doesn't rely on our own knowledge and our own effort, but on his. The second part of this verse, which I think a lot of people gloss over, is do not fret when people succeed in their ways. It's a warning about falling into a comparison trap in these waiting seasons. I personally also struggle with this one. Currently, I'm going through a bit of a quarter-life crisis. Now, the script says a bit, but if you know me, it's a lot of a quarter-life crisis. And I'm trying to shift my career in a bit of a different direction. And it's been hard because looking around, you see old classmates and you see friends, getting the dream job, starting businesses, getting into their dream program at school and restarting their career. But through all of this, what I've learned the most is that it's obvious that I have some development to do when it comes to my identity and where I put my worth, which needs to be in God and not how I compare to others. And that's the key to all of this. God doesn't call us to be humble and be still, as in just sit around and do nothing and don't think about anything. He calls us to be humble in, being willing to give up our own plans and our own thoughts to his, and to be still, as in listening and drawing near to him when he calls us. So that whenever we want to progress in any area of life, whether it's work, relationships, finances, whatever the case may be, we're progressing towards his plan for us. Obviously, that's easier said than done. So a verse that really puts it into perspective for me is Galatians 4:4, which says, "But when the time set had fully come, God sent his son." When the time set had fully come, God sent his son. Even God had to wait for the perfect timing to send Jesus to save us. And if God waited for the perfect moment to conduct the most important event in all of history, we can wait for the perfect moment for him to change our lives. Thank you.